The power of habit. How small habits can completely change your life. Have you ever wondered why you keep doing things you promised yourself you would stop? You decide to wake up early, but somehow you press the snooze button. You decide to stop using your phone so much, but 5 minutes later, you're scrolling again. You decide to exercise, read books, save money, or work toward your dream. But after a few days, the motivation disappears. And then you ask yourself, why can't I change? The answer may be simpler than you think. You don't necessarily lack discipline. You don't necessarily lack motivation. You may simply be trapped inside a pattern. That pattern is called a habit. In The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg explains that much of our daily behavior is controlled by habits operating almost automatically. The good news is that habits can be understood, redesigned, and replaced. And when you change your habits, you don't just change your daily routine. You can change the direction of your life. Your life is built from repeated actions. Think about your average day. You wake up. You check your phone. You brush your teeth. You eat breakfast. You go to work or college. You come home. You watch something. You scroll social media. You sleep. Then tomorrow, you repeat it. Most of these actions don't require serious decision-making because your brain has learned them. This is actually useful. Imagine having to consciously think about every tiny action you perform. You would become mentally exhausted. Habits allow your brain to save energy. But there is a problem. Your brain doesn't automatically know whether a habit is good or bad. It simply learns what you repeatedly do. If you repeatedly spend money whenever you're stressed, spending becomes a habit. If you repeatedly eat unhealthy food whenever you're bored, eating becomes a habit. If you repeatedly avoid difficult work whenever you're uncomfortable, procrastination becomes a habit. But the opposite is also true. If you repeatedly exercise, exercise becomes easier. If you repeatedly read, reading becomes natural. If you repeatedly save money, saving becomes normal. If you repeatedly work on your goals, taking action becomes part of your identity. That's why your future isn't created only by your biggest decisions. It's created by the small actions you repeat every day. The habit loop. One of the most important ideas in The Power of Habit is the habit loop. It consists of 3 basic parts. Cue, routine, reward. The cue is the trigger. The routine is the behavior. The reward is what your brain receives afterward. For example, imagine you're working at your desk. You feel stressed. That feeling becomes the cue. You open social media. That's the routine. You experience entertainment and temporary relief. That's the reward. Your brain learns. Stress, social media, relief. The more often you repeat this cycle, the stronger the connection becomes. Eventually, you may not even consciously decide to open the app. The cue appears, and your brain automatically expects the routine. This explains why some habits feel so difficult to break. You're not simply fighting an action. You're fighting an entire neurological pattern. Why motivation alone doesn't work. Many people start self-improvement with motivation. They watch a motivational video. They feel inspired. They create a huge plan. Tomorrow I'm waking up at 5 a.m. I'm going to exercise every day. I'll read 50 pages. I'll stop using my phone. I'll completely change my life. For 2 or 3 days, everything feels exciting. Then life becomes difficult. You're tired. You're busy. You're stressed. Your motivation disappears. And the old habits return. The problem isn't that motivation is useless. Motivation can help you start. But systems and habits help you continue. Instead of asking, how can I stay motivated every day? How can I make the right behavior easier to repeat? That's a much more powerful question. Start small. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to transform everything at once. They want a completely new life tomorrow. But massive changes are often difficult to maintain. Instead, start with something almost ridiculously small. If you want to read, don't begin with 100 pages. Start with 5 pages. If you want to exercise, don't promise yourself 2 hours at the gym. Start with 10 minutes. If you want to meditate, start with 2 minutes. If you want to write, start with 1 paragraph. The goal at the beginning isn't to achieve an impressive result. The goal is to teach your brain that this behavior is part of your normal life. Once the habit becomes automatic, you can increase the intensity. Remember, small actions repeated consistently can become powerful results. Change the cue. Sometimes the easiest way to change a habit is to change what triggers it. Imagine you always eat junk food while watching television. Your television becomes connected with eating. So instead of trying to fight the craving every night, change the environment. Don't keep unhealthy snacks within reach. Keep fruit or healthier food available. Similarly, if your phone distracts you while studying, don't simply tell yourself, "I'm going to ignore my phone." Put it in another room. If you want to read more, keep a book beside your bed. If you want to exercise in the morning, prepare your clothes the night before. Don't depend entirely on willpower. Design your environment so that good habits become easier and bad habits become harder. Replace bad habits instead of simply removing them. This is one of the most useful lessons from the book. Sometimes you can't simply delete a habit. You need to understand what your brain is actually looking for. Suppose you come home after a stressful day and immediately eat unhealthy food. The food may not be the real need. Maybe you're looking for relaxation. So instead of simply saying, "I'm never eating this again," try replacing the routine. Stress, short walk, relaxation. Stress, music, relaxation. Stress, conversation with someone, emotional relief. The important question is, what reward am I actually seeking? Once you understand the reward, you can experiment with a healthier routine that provides something similar. Keystone habits. Some habits are more powerful than others. Duhigg describes these as keystone habits. A keystone habit is a habit that creates positive changes in several areas of your life. Exercise is a great example. When someone begins exercising regularly, they may not only become physically healthier. They may start eating better. They may sleep better. They may become more confident. They may become more disciplined at work. They may feel more energetic. One habit can influence many others. Another powerful keystone habit is planning your day. When you plan your day, you become more aware of your priorities. You waste less time. You become more intentional. And you start feeling in control. So instead of trying to fix 20 things at once, identify one habit that could improve multiple areas of your life. Willpower is like a muscle. Willpower is important. But willpower can become weaker when you're tired, stressed, hungry, or overwhelmed. That's why relying on willpower alone isn't a great long-term strategy. Instead, create routines that reduce the number of decisions you have to make. For example, if you want to exercise every morning, choose a fixed time. If you want to read every night, keep the book beside your bed. If you want to save money, automate your savings. If you want to reduce phone usage, remove distracting apps from your home screen. The goal is simple. Make the desired behavior automatic. The fewer decisions you need to make, the easier it becomes to stay consistent. Believe that change is possible. There is another important part of changing habits. Belief. When people believe they are incapable of changing, they often stop trying. They say, "I'm just lazy. I'm not disciplined. I've always been like this. This is just my personality." But your current habits don't have to define your future. You may have spent years developing certain patterns. That doesn't mean you have to keep them forever. You can learn new behaviors. You can build new routines. You can create a different environment. And gradually, you can become a different version of yourself. You don't need to become perfect. You need to become consistent. Your identity is being built every day. Every action you take sends a message to yourself. When you exercise, you're telling yourself, "I'm someone who takes care of my body." When you read, you're telling yourself, "I'm someone who learns." When you save money, you're telling yourself, "I'm someone who thinks about the future." When you keep a promise to yourself, you're telling yourself, "I can trust myself." And those messages accumulate. Your identity isn't created in one dramatic moment. It's created through repetition. Every day, you're casting a vote for the person you're becoming. So don't ask, "Can I completely transform my life this month?" What is one action I can repeat today? Then do it again tomorrow. And again the next day. A simple habit system you can start today. Let's turn these ideas into a practical system. Step 1. Choose one habit. Don't choose 10. Choose one. Maybe reading, exercise, saving money, learning English, waking up earlier, or reducing social media. Step 2. Identify the cue. When does the behavior usually happen? Morning, after dinner, when you're stressed, when you're bored. Find the trigger. Step 3. Choose a tiny routine. Make it easy enough that you can do it even on a bad day. 5 pages, 10 push-ups, 5 minutes of learning, 2 minutes of meditation. Step 4. Give yourself a reward. Your brain needs a reason to repeat the behavior. You can track your progress. Take a short break. Listen to your favorite song. Or simply enjoy the satisfaction of completing the habit. Step 5. Repeat. Don't focus on perfection. If you miss one day, don't turn one missed day into one missed month. Restart immediately. Your future is hiding inside your routine. Imagine 2 people. They have similar abilities, similar opportunities, similar amounts of time. But one person spends every evening scrolling for 3 hours. The other spends 1 hour learning a valuable skill. After one day, the difference is almost invisible. After 1 month, it's noticeable. After 1 year, it's significant. After 5 years, their lives could look completely different. That's the power of habits. A small action doesn't look powerful when you perform it once. Its power comes from repetition. A single workout won't transform your body. A single book won't transform your mind. Saving a small amount once won't make you wealthy. But repeated actions can create remarkable results. Your life may not change because of one giant decision. It may change because of one small habit that you refuse to abandon. The next time you catch yourself saying, "I need more motivation," stop for a moment. Ask yourself, what habit is controlling this behavior? What is the cue? What routine follows it? What reward are you seeking? And what healthier routine could replace it? You don't have to rebuild your entire life overnight. Start small. Change your environment. Build better routines. Replace destructive patterns. And most importantly, keep repeating the actions that move you toward the person you want to become. Because your habits are not just things you do. They are shaping who you become. So choose them carefully. Your future self is being created by what you repeatedly do today. If this book summary gave you one useful idea, don't just listen to it and move on. Choose one habit right now. Make it small. Start today. And give yourself the chance to discover just how much your life can change through consistent action. Remember, you don't need to change your whole life in one day. You only need to change what you repeatedly do every day. And that is the real power of habit.